Thank you so much.
I appreciate that's good.
I'm in here in the studio. I'm Drew Bedard. That's Leighton Hart.
Hey, Leighton Hart, how are you?
Hey, Leighton Hart. How are you?
I'm gonna show off my.
So we're what are we doing today? We're back in the studio to record the Market Street Media Show.
This is wild. It's been a hot minute.
It has been. It's been a crazy few weeks.
And I'm super excited to be talking on this headset right now.
Yes.
Long journey with the headset.
You sound amazing.
You sound really good too. Like
Thank
really
you.
good.
Like really good.
Yeah, long journey with the headsets. They got delivered to a different address across the street, and I went and knocked on doors.
That was my fault.
It's not about whose fault it is, Drew. And I went and knocked on doors, and then like a month later,
They showed up.
they showed up. So
Thank you to that person.
only in Johnson City, Tennessee, would that happen.
All right, let's record it up.
Yeah.
Here we go. 3, 2. All right. Welcome back to the Market Street Media Show. I'm Drew Bedard.
Hey, I'm Leighton Hart. What's
and
up?
we're back in the studio together. We are recording this. I voted today, so I'm
Yes.
excited. It's
you.
middle of October. Yeah, I was excited to do it.
God bless America.
God bless America. It was good. It felt terrific. But we're coming to you live on our streaming channels, but we'll be putting this out on Monday. But we're doing a special experiment. Well, really, Leighton is doing a special experiment today, and I'm helping out wherever I can. We're going to have some news stories, but really the bulk of the content is going to be about the 101 pieces of content that we're going to do. So give us the quick Cliff Note version, and then we'll come back to it and dive in like what you're going to do, like what you're pushing all day.
The super compressed version is today. By the time the sun sets tonight, maybe later than that, but by midnight tonight, we will have posted, if all goes according to plan, at least 101 pieces of content to all of Market Street Media. No, total to Market Street Media's social channels.
Right.
So that's YouTube. Well, we'll get into that later.
Okay.
That's the short version.
All right. So that's the short version. All right. So now we're going to hit a few news items that we've been seeing, which is kind of our normal format, is to kind of hit what's going on in podcasting, streaming, live streaming, social media, kind of what's going on in the world. I know one that's been a big topic of news this past week is that Disney, and Disney Plus in particular, but Disney is restructuring a lot of their organization around streaming, and Disney Plus in particular, but that also includes they have all these other streaming products like ESPN Plus, Hulu. They're majority owners, I think, at this point in Hulu, and some other things. But I mean, it's not a shock, but it's you got to look at it as this is a big move towards the streaming world. But again, not being a big shock because their cruise lines are shut down, their parks have been, decimated and hurt real bad in California and Florida, and probably all over the world. What do they have? Hong Kong, Japan, Paris. So, a lot of their core businesses have been hurt. Movies, huge, been hurt this year with theaters being shut down. But what are your thoughts on the Disney Plus kind of restructuring?
I mean, I think it's the way to go for them.
Yeah.
I think they're, again, you and I talk about kind of skating to where the puck is going.
Yes.
And I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Yep. So that's been a big news story this week. What have you been hearing?
Here's an interesting thing. You and I talk a lot about media and kind of the money that surrounds media and how empires get built in media and all that stuff. And another example, we've talked about the Ringer selling.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about Rogan going to Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of things. Another just mind-blowing deal in social media and content, Barstool Sports. If you're familiar with Barstool Sports,
Mm-hmm.
I have a love-hate relationship with Barstool Sports, kind of.
Most people do.
There's some good stuff, but there's some stuff that it's not I'm not their demographic.
It's not your bag, baby.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they sold the business to Penn National Gaming, which is a regional gambling operator,
Mm-hmm.
for $450 million.
Mm-hmm. Half a B.
Half a B.
Right.
And it's just a monster deal. Of course, very prolific. They've got shows for days on any topic that you could want to listen to.
Yeah, they really do.
But just there's a lot of money in the industry right now.
There's a lot of money. The media companies that have been patient and that have built a platform. You talked about the Ringer. Talked about Joe Rogan's podcast, but it's more of like a media empire because he's also got this YouTube streaming channel, or he's got the clips plus the full episodes. It's where things are going. And you and I talked about this the other day. What's interesting right now, so just kind of a segue into another media area, is podcasting in particular. And really, the game is going to be really figured out once this dynamic advertising comes into play, or for the producers themselves, for the publishers. You and me and everybody who broadcasts at Market Street Media. But that's coming down the pike, and I think Spotify is going to be the place where that's going to happen because Spotify's got the music platform. They've got this digital platform, but they'll be able to dynamically add in ads. Like Anchor just announced, Anchor is now owned by Spotify, as well as a lot of other companies and a lot of entities. But Anchor just talked about that they're going to, if you want to have a music podcast, you can take music from Spotify and play it into your episodes for free and with no licensing and everything like that. So again, this sort of dynamic, pull from the cloud of here's a spot, I'm going to pull in a song or I'm going to pull in an ad at some point. It's going to be huge.
That's going to be a big deal.
Yep.
One of the top questions I get from our creators here is, hey, I want to use this song, or I want to use a clip of a song in a podcast, and you just can't. There's just no way to do it unless you want to pony up a huge amount of money to license the song. So that's a cool feature. That's really great. But it goes to the point of like integrating all these things together and what you can do when you have multiple businesses under one roof.
Yes. But it is interesting about Barstool, and what's really interesting about what they've been doing lately is that Penn National Gaming that bought them, that they just started, I think in the last, I want to say 4 months, a sports betting platform under Barstool, and it's doing really, really well, which was super smart on their part, was take a giant audience and marry it with a sports gambling product or platform, and just so instead of it being it's Penn National Gaming at the bottom of the website, but it's Barstool Sportsbook.
Yep.
And so you just marry those two together, and it's just taken off.
Yeah.
So smart investment on their part because they could turn it into new verticals for them.
Yeah.
Which is very smart.
Yeah, and not just a large audience, but a fanatical audience too, like a highly
very
engaged.
Passionate. Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so let's go back. Let's talk about the 101 pieces of content. So if I remember when you and I have talked about this is an idea or a theory or something that comes from Gary Vaynerchuk, this whole idea of smart businesses or businesses that are ambitious are putting out 100 pieces of content a day. And most people think about that and it just blows their mind. And they're also like, that is terribly overwhelming to think about. So then you came up with this idea that we're going to take one day, and we'll probably do this again at some point based on the analytics and the results, which we'll bring to you guys, but of putting out 101 pieces of content today, and then let people know like how you're going to do that.
Yeah. So, and it was, and also kind of born out of the idea, when Gary Vee says you should be posting 100 pieces of content today, I don't know if he means that literally or not. He may. I think it's realistic for a lot of businesses to produce many times more than they actually are right now.
Sure.
In fact, in one of our trainings, we talk about how to turn one, say, podcast episode into 30 or more pieces of content. We kind of slice and dice that. So I was kind of playing with that idea and go like, how do we, extremely, scale up the content we're producing? And I just said, well, let's just do one day.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And the crazy thing is I actually mapped this out last weekend and kind of did a little blueprint for everything we're going to post today. And it's not that hard. Like it's,
because a lot of it is content syndication. It's taking one piece of content and then spraying it over 4 or 5 different platforms. And then you take one piece and you kind of rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah. Which, again, in one of our trainings, I said, it feels like cheating when you do that.
Yeah.
Because there's this tendency, I have it, maybe you don't have it, but to think everything needs to be original. Everything needs to be unique and customized. And I think there's a place for that. But with the algorithms and with where people spend their time, nobody's going to see everything that you post.
Sure.
So you have to put something over here and over there and over here to get it in front of people. We'll post a lot of content today, and only a fraction of it will be seen by everyone. So So yeah, that repurposing kind of spreading and syndicating in multiple places. Hopefully, we're going to catch more eyeballs that way today.
Yeah, and when we talk about pieces of content, like what we're doing right now is one show,
Yep.
but it's being syndicated over 4 different channels at the same time. So really that's 4 pieces of content, right?
Yeah, and that reminds me, like one of the pieces of content that I was going to post was a picture of us doing
So
this right
you
now.
guys are like seeing this live if you're watching us.
So I'm going to snap a picture, thumbs up, boom, there's a piece of content. I'm going to post that.
Right, and that was very simple. That took 2 seconds to do.
Yep.
Okay, talk about the channels that you're going to use.
Yeah, so we have our blog, marketstreetmedia.com.
Okay.
We have our YouTube channel, LinkedIn,
Yep.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on Twitch right now.
Instagram stories.
Instagram stories. What else?
I think
that's about it. That's
right.
That's plenty of places.
Because those are the main platforms that you're using for Market Street Media, right?
Yep.
Not necessarily expanded into TikTok, Snapchat. Like
Correct.
These are the ones, and it's because Market Street Media is it's mostly a B2B type operation. It's working with podcasters and working with businesses on social media. So you chose those channels, and now you're going to take all those, and like you said, you mapped out, and I've seen your document, that it has basically from 1 to 101.
Yep.
But again, these chunks of categories of, okay, take the Instagram post and then a second whole grouping. So there's 10 Instagram posts, but then 10 Instagram stories of those posts.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you can, so it's not that hard for people to say, I just have to take, I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with, oh man, that sounds like way too much.
Yeah.
But really, again, it's taking one piece of content and spreading it out, because that post also probably went to Facebook.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and so I think it does sound overwhelming at times, but literally probably 50% of the work today is moving my thumb on my phone screen.
right.
Just
Yep.
reposting this to that. So
Right.
so we'll see how it goes. It's coming up on 11 a.m. and we probably got 45 pieces out today so far. So
Right.
we're right on track.
That's awesome, man. That's good. You were talking about courses. What courses and platforms are you using for courses these days?
Yeah, so we have done, I've built a couple courses that I've hosted on, kind of like a self-hosted platform, which would be either Thinkific or, I'm blanking on the other, Teachable.
Teachable.
Those are
right.
kind of, you build your courses there, you push traffic there, and that's.
But there's not
delivered.
necessarily a ton of organic traffic going there. They're more like places to house your courses.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
There's no traffic inside of there. There's no audience built into those. So I had this idea, well, what if we took those same courses and modified them a little bit, and then fed them into some of the larger platforms that are social. Things like there's places like Coursera and Udemy and Skillshare. And so my focus this week has been getting things onto Udemy. Heard great things about that. There's millions and millions and millions of people.
Right, like
on Udemy.
100 million a month traffic, right?
It's
Very organic. Yep.
Yeah, it's wild. And so, so I guess as of last night, Content Growth Blueprint is launched on Udemy. And so if you want to know how to do, like we're doing today, produce a lot of content you kind of leverage your effort, that course is available on Udemy. And so we'll see how it does. Like so much of this is just kind of doing experiments and seeing what works.
Right. And webinars, you've been doing some webinars, and you got one next week, right?
Yeah, that's actually been a lot of fun. I really love doing that stuff. And so we've done a webinar on, how to grow your content. And we've done a webinar on social media copywriting. That was a fun one too. Had a good response on that one. And then so next week, not next week, in 2 weeks. So on the 29th at 11 a.m., this one will be on how to bring visitors to your website, traffic on your website from Google My Business.
Yeah,
by
which
maxing
is really cool.
out your Google My Business profile.
So, the webinars have been incredibly popular. Actually, just going back for a second to some of the content. So one of the things in particular that people can do, and if you're watching us live or you listen to this next week, is sharing. So you had a show this week, Johnson City Living, in here, in the studio with a couple of guests, Abraham McIntyre and
Adam Taylor.
And you guys talked, but right at the beginning of the live stream, you said, hey guys, share this on your platforms. And Abraham's got a pretty decent following, pretty engaged following, him and his wife. And he shared that, and if you look at the numbers on that, it's amazing. So not to kind of jump back and forth, but it's another way to grow the reach of your content.
Yeah, and that's just a free tip that I would give to anybody either watching or listening to us today. Like you said, is it's you get so much more power if when you're sitting down to do something, if you're doing a live stream or something like that, just ask everybody to share it.
Yeah.
Like the results are ridiculous.
I'll go in and share it right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
If you're watching this live, if you could share this too, there's a few of you out there. I could see you.
I see you.
I don't know who you are, but I know you're watching. A share on this right now would it'd mean the world to us. We really appreciate it.
Okay, so I'm going to do that. So that's it. We'll keep it short this week for the Market Street Media Show. Wanted to get Leighton to talk about the 101 Pieces of Content Day, you know, a few news items and also just a few items that Market Street Media is putting out. But I think as we move forward with the show, when Leighton and I can get together and do it, you know, we're definitely going to hit the news, but it's a lot of education stuff. You know, it's talking about, because this business and in the way that Leighton has set it up is it's, you know, there's the client side, but then there's the education side. There's as much as you can teach and as I can help, and you have a lot of other experts that help out, but it's really about what value we can give to the audience and give as much education away. And then there'll be some pillar courses like the podcast course that we talked about this past week that you do a really thorough start to finish, tell you everything that you need to do to launch a podcast, for instance.
Yeah. And the question I would ask you, listening audience and viewing audience, is this. You know, we're always looking for ways to be helpful and new ideas of courses to launch or webinars to teach. The question for you is, what are you working on that you're having a hard time getting done? What are you working on that you're having a hard time getting done? Because the answer to that question is where we can step in and put a little course together, put a little training together, and help you along your way. So if you have ideas or something that's on your mind, a problem you're having a hard time getting solved, hit us up. Like, we're here to help. So reach out.
That's a great thing to do. Okay, well, that's it for this week. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time on the Market Street Media Show.